Well, 3 more buses filled with 139 migrants arriving in New York City from Texas yesterday, the biggest single-day arrival to date. Hundreds of migrants in the Big Apple also lining up outside a local hospital to get free health care, free phones, food. This is warning that some migrants arriving in the city from border states will reportedly be housed in a, get this, $700 a night luxury hotel, and that will be, yes, on the taxpayer's dime. According to the Daily Mail, the migrants will use a different entrance than the tourists that are staying there. Joining me now, National Border Patrol Council Vice President Hector Garza. Your reaction to not just, again, another month, if you look at July, of overwhelming border crossings, but now Eric Adams, the mayor of this city, saying, sure, come on to New York. Does this hurt or help Governor Greg Abbott, who's trying to make a statement here?
Well, first of all, we've seen about 2 million apprehensions by the U.S. Border Patrol of illegal crossers. And just from that, we've seen over 260,000 unaccompanied children. This shouldn't be happening in the United States. And even though we give kudos to Governor Abbott for sending all of these buses with migrants all the way to New York and D.C., it should not be happening. Now, border towns for the past 5 years, 6, 7 years, we've been handling all of these migrant crises. We've been seeing that these migrants have been using our healthcare, our education system, and now New York and D.C. is going to get a chance to experience that, and they're going to find out how expensive it is and how much resources it takes to actually care for these migrants that are being encouraged to cross the border illegally. And unfortunately, this should not be happening, but the Biden administration policies is what encourages these people to come from all over the world.
But, you know this area better than I do. I mean, this is now big business. It's $1 billion business for these cartels to move migrants across the border, in addition to all of the drugs, in particular fentanyl.
Well, the drug cartels are making a lot of money. They're moving a lot of people from all over the world. And while Border Patrol is busy processing all of these illegal aliens, guess what? All of these fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamines, they're coming across the border, and they're not being seized or apprehended by the U.S. Border Patrol. And that means that all of these drugs are eventually going to end up in our communities, affecting our children, our families, our neighbors, our schools, you name it. It's affecting all of us. And unfortunately, this, again, is caused by the Biden administration, that he is not securing the border and continues to encourage illegal immigration. It's very frustrating.
Well, and you've also got actually, we don't even have the full numbers of the amount of migrants that die trying to cross the border in itself, whether it's in Arizona or Texas, because of the heat. But let's move on to this. The White House is reportedly pushing immigration and customs enforcement to deport more migrants under a, quote, detained docket, after feeling political pressure over the border crisis. So the LA Times is reporting about 60,000 migrants have entered the docket since they launched it in May of last year, but only 150 have been deported. What do you make of that? Is it something that's on the books on paper but not enforced?
It's all just a big joke, and unfortunately, we are suffering because of that. This is supposed to be, ICE is supposed to be doing a job of deporting illegal aliens that have missed out on court, illegal aliens that have been determined to be deportable. But unfortunately, under this administration, all they have become is just processors so they can continue to allow more and more people into the United States. ICE is not doing the job that they were supposed to be doing, and unfortunately, the Biden administration controls what they do. And yeah, this is just a big joke. And unfortunately, all of these people that are coming into the country legally under the catch and release program will never be sent back to their countries, and to continue to draw from our benefits.
I'm going to bring in Liz Peek because, Liz, we always say this, that every state is a border state. This is no longer, well, it never really was a problem for just Arizona and Texas and New Mexico and Southern California because of all the drugs that are flooding into every state in this country. Now you've got New York City, who's going to have to deal face to face because of these migrant buses. The fact that they're putting them up in a $700 a night hotel, I'm sorry, that's my tax money that's going to be going towards this. I mean, give me a break. What is Adams doing?
Well, I credit Governor Abbott for making every state a border state, because up until very recently, it was basically only the border states that were complaining about our open border policies, which, by the way, are a complete policy failure, intentional policy failure on the part of the Biden White House. His approval rating, the president's approval rating on immigration, is 30% in a latest poll. This is a disaster for the White House, but only now are voters becoming aware of it and concerned about it, because all of a sudden New Yorkers are thinking about this. People in Washington, D.C. are being confronted with busloads of people. I think he should continue and expand this program to bring pressure on the White House from the only people they care about, which are Democrat politicians in these blue cities who are asking for help. Because I got to tell you, what Hector says is exactly right. Obviously, these people are not ending up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. They're going to Hispanic communities largely and bringing in all those drugs and all the problems that are associated with people who aren't working and are basically receiving government benefits. This is really not good for New York City. We're already struggling to recover. And this unleashed immigration problem, I think, is a real heads up. And I hope that Eric Adams is on the phone to the White House every day saying, you have to stop that.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way it is going to stop.
Well, and Hector, I think what she makes is an interesting point here. I mean, it's one thing, because we were looking at the buses live on this program last week coming into the Port Authority, and it was a lot of single young men getting off these buses. Very rarely did you see a child or a mother getting off of these buses, and that's an alarming fact that we're going to have to deal with.
Well, and those people that you're seeing on these buses coming from Texas and Arizona, that's just a percentage of the demographics and the populations that we're seeing that are coming across the border. Those are the people that are turning themselves in that qualify for the catch and release program. Which under the Biden administration, again, we've had over 2 million apprehensions this fiscal year by the U.S. Border Patrol. But there's also a demographic that is not surrendering to U.S. Border Patrol. There's a demographic that is running from Border Patrol agents, that's trying to get away from Border Patrol agents. And those are the people that are very concerning as well, because those are the ones that have serious criminal records. Those are the drug dealers. Those are the assassins. Those are the murderers. Those are people that have served prison time in their countries and now are coming to the United States. So yeah, the migrants you're seeing on those buses, that's just one demographic. There's a totally other demographic that's getting away and also infiltrating the United States.
And we have to run, Hector,
a total new criminal element.
We have to run, Hector. I'll tell you what, dig into the facts and look into the history of what these cartels are doing. In particular, they're now renting out kids. There are instances now, reported instances of children that have crossed that border over and over. People are actually renting out kids and using them so that they look like a family, so that they can get entry into the United States. It's heartbreaking what's happening down there. Hector Garza, thank you very much for being here.